Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Uh, I will wait just some minutes, or some seconds, to see if more people are joining the session because there are 4 sessions, concurrential ones. We have already some people joining. I see now 14 people. But yes, thanks everyone who joined both the event and the session. I'm really happy. In the name of Singularity University Frankfurt, I'm really happy to have 3 of the great minds of SUHQ with us. And thank you, Teasha, for supporting us, Amanda and Alix. Your keynote was great. If you want, could you just introduce yourself and let's kick off this meet and greet?
Sounds great. Thank you. Hi, my name is Teasha Cable, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development and Product Strategy at SU for our membership products. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak and talk a little bit about what we're doing here at Singularity University in order to sort of stay ahead of trends and ensure that we're making our own way and creating our own future vision and so forth. So I'd like to welcome my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, my name is Amanda Manna. I'm a vice president at SU and head of strategic narrative, which we're going to talk about today. And strategic narrative is a methodology for using storytelling to think bigger about the future and then actually convince people to make that happen with you. So prior to being at SU, I was on the innovation team at Lowe's where we first adopted this methodology. And then I co-founded a company, Uncommon Partners, which SU acquired in 2019. So really happy to be here with all you guys today.
Hi everyone, I am Alix Rübsaam. I am the Director of Research and Curated Content at SU. And I joined SU actually as an expert, so my expertise is in the intersections of human and technological agents. I look specifically at AI and embodied robotics a lot, and I've been focusing on algorithmic bias for the last couple of years. But for now at SU, I'm mainly focusing at sort of making sure that our perspective, SU's point of view, and really the story that we have to tell is captured in all of the content that we put out. So I'm really happy to be here as well and happy to be part of this program.
Thank you. Thank you all. Teasha, I just saw that you have something to share.
Yes, I was just trying to share my screen. I'm sorry. Is it showing?
I can see it.
Okay, awesome. This was supposed to be up a moment ago, so my apologies. So what we wanted to do today was to start with an activity. And this activity we'll go through and see what's your future of. I mean, there's lots of this idea of the future of this and that going about in the universe. And we want to talk a little bit about what's motivating you in this day and age. And then just to cover the themes of unlimited reality. So we came to this particular event so that we could talk about what we're doing at SU, but we wanted to make sure that we made that relative to this experience. And so one of the areas that we've covered is algorithmic bias, and that definitely measures the implications of human-machine interaction and what that might look like in the future and what it might mean for your business. And then on the future of industries, we've thought about, well, what's the story that needs to be told in order for organizations to understand what's possible and then put forth meaningful strategies that they can go about implementing to stay ahead. And then in the future of human-human interaction, as you would have seen in the keynote, the idea of partnering for this goal of positively impacting people is actually quite important. And I want to have our Q&A kind of focus on how you guys want to help us to do that moving forward. And then, of course, we'll have some next steps. And just as a little bit of a gift. We want you to stay around. We've got a trivia piece that we want to do with you so that we can give out some premium SU memberships. Each of those is valued at about $1,200. We say that just so that you feel that there's some value and benefit in staying around to gain that experience. And we'll talk through what some of the benefits are. So with that said, let's jump right in to our activity. So let's take the next couple of minutes and have you jot down what's your future of. So the future of blank is most important to me. And then add a statement, one sentence, keep it short, on because of what. And then what we'll do is invite a couple of you to come up and tell us what your story is. So Alix or Amanda, while we give people 2 minutes, do either of you have a future of that you'd like to share?
I certainly do. The future of algorithms is most important to me because of their power and their ability to both make things more equal and less equal in the world.
I'd say the future of story, because I think that story is changing a lot because of technology and the ways that we might deliver it, but also in the way that people think about it. And as we think about skills of the future and things that might be automated or things that might not, I think the ability to persuade people and connect with them over a story is something that's pretty core to the human talent set and experience. So I believe it'll be more important for people to be better at that in the future.
That's awesome. And mine would be the future of, and I know I've said it 3 times now, but it's really partnership. It's because I believe that it's very important for people to work together to solve big challenges. And even though we look at our day-to-day lives as our own, most of the experiences we have can be improved if we can simply partner with others to achieve goals. So thank you for that. All right, are we at 2 minutes? I'm not the best in timekeeping in this moment. I can't quite see my clock.
Almost.
Okay.
You're about 20 seconds out.
If you want, I can also share my future of. So for me, the future of education is very important because, well, the future generation.
Speaking of the future generation.
Exactly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just saying that the future of education for me is the most important because they are the ones who will shape the future of our home, the future of Earth. So I think education is a key industry that we should focus on.
That's a good one. Do we have any hand raisers? Thank you, Pedro. Do we have anyone who would also be interested in sharing their future of? I don't know.
It is always scary to go fast, of course.
Yeah. It's like I can't quite tell.
No, there's no one who's raised their hand just yet, but here we have one.
Okay. Cool.
I think.
So would Pedro, would you be the one? Oh, it's Lila. Awesome.
Lila.
Hey, everyone. I wanted to echo Pedro that I think that the future of education is important because I think that it has the power to change the world. Thank you.
Good. Well, listen, if there aren't any more hands raised, we thank you, Lila. We
have another one, Teasha.
Oh, cool.
We have Patricia.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. So for me, the future of human-human interaction is the most important, because I believe that when we are together and this touch, this share ideas, we will build a much better world. So I like technology and they will empower us, but I love the human-human interaction.
Great. Thank you, Patricia. Okay. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll keep going and let's have Alix jump in.
Yes. So as you may have heard during the keynote, one of the things we've focused on for the last couple of months is some of our research projects. And as Teasha mentioned in the keynote as well, we really have this lens of sort of impact and technology and where the two intersect, and understanding that we can leverage our technology to achieve certain levels of impact. That really means that what we have to talk about are the implications of our technologies, right? These things don't occur in a vacuum. We really should be better at understanding sort of what the effects of our technologies are in the sort of larger scheme of things, to be able to deploy them responsibly and well in general. So what that often means is that we talk about what is possible with our technologies, right? And crucially, what this means is that we understand that for those of you familiar with SU's core narrative, this democratization of technology, right? Meaning that because the processing power goes up while the price goes down, there is a democratizing force, right? These technologies become available to more and more people all over the world, and everyone has access. And what we understand from that is that everyone can actually do things with these technologies. And that is incredibly empowering, right? And it is incredibly important. But what we see in the case of many technologies, and AI in particular, is that the education around the possible negative implications is lacking, right? We have this narrative around, okay, we understand this is what this technology can do. Now everyone can start doing it, and everyone can start doing the positive things with these technologies. But there's a second step of like, what if potentially there are negative implications that could follow from the implementation of those technologies? So what we talked about, and what Teasha talked about in the keynote, is that we have this research publication that we published a couple of months ago, where we talk about how regulations will affect how you can use certain technologies, right? And this is what we see following this democratizing development, is regulations following suit, saying, well, actually, if there's harm that can be caused, there will be regulations following, so as to mitigate disparate impact that often these technologies have. And what we see in particular around AI, but in some of the other technologies as well, is that the democratization of that AI use has vastly outpaced the education around understanding fairness and equity in AI. So that's kind of what we talked about in this research paper, is basically how you as a business need to understand that. And we compared it to GDPR, which was fun, right? Because then when the new proposed regulations came out in EU, this now 2 weeks ago, there was a lot of media that covered it in the same way, saying like, remember when GDPR hit and you got all of those emails saying like, hey, this is what we use your data for, and hey, you should know this is what we use your data for, because that was part of the regulations. And so the massive impact of having to back and retrofit your technology to comply with the regulations, it was a massive overhaul for anyone that uses data in some way, which again, according to this democratization of technology, was almost everyone. And so the same we'll see with AI. And that's really what this paper was about, is understanding how oncoming regulations will affect how you do your business around AI. That's one part, right, of the education that we have to do. The second part is really that we have to understand how and when things can go wrong with our automated decision-making algorithms. And so later today in 2.5 hours, we'll have an extra session where I'll actually be talking about one of the workshops I do with our research team at SU, which isn't so much business focused in terms of like, this is how your business needs to follow regulations, but it's actually just education around how do biases and these problematic and nefarious effects of our algorithms creep into the design and the implementation of these technologies. So I'll show you, we won't do the full workshop because it's 4 hours and it's exhausting, but I'll show you some parts and some learnings that we have from the workshop, because that's the other thing we do, right? We understand the implications of our technologies, but we also care about contributing to the education because we understand this democratization of AI. So more to come on that later.
That's awesome. Thank you, Alix. And we'll open it up for direct Q&A in just a moment. Let's go to looking at the future of industries. And this is our view on what happens companies and industries. So Amanda?
Thanks. So how many of you have a job in an industry that you are worried about what's going to happen in the future? The answer is all of you. So it doesn't matter what we do, every industry is changing and we all have to figure out what to do about it. And technology is just one piece of the problem. There's tons of great ideas out there. Ideas are cheap, but actually getting your organization to do something different or invest in something new is a lot of times where innovation goes to die. And that's really what led us to start using storytelling as a mechanism to create change. Because when you create a story, you have to build the world. So that forces you to think about how society will look, what cultures will look like, geography, ecology, all these different aspects that make up the distinctive features of the world that we live in every day. To do that, you have to think about where technology is headed and what happens when technology runs into people, which is where things change, to Alix's point. And so all of these things go into this process and really are tools that we can use to help us think not only about what's possible in the future of our different industries or roles, but more importantly, the future that we think is important to make happen. So it's not about just waiting passively for something to come around to your door, but it's about saying, this is what I want to do, and I need to find these people to help me make it, and this is the very first step I want to take. So we have developed a process. Teasha, maybe go to the next slide, please. That leads to these tangible outcomes. So a lot of times a story feels squishy. We turn these into comic books a lot of times, and your executive team is probably going to laugh at you, but that's actually great. Then you know you've got their attention. But we have very real outcomes that come out of this process. One is deep research into the future direction of technologies or problems that are specific to your objectives. And we do that by gathering a variety of perspectives from across the SU ecosystem, so experts in different fields, your industry, adjacent industries. We really want to provoke new thinking. And so that is one tangible step forward to help further your insights capability within your organization. The second thing we want to do then is guide you guys through a process to synthesize the insights that we found and say, if we think this is what's possible, what do we want to see? What do we not want to see happen? And therefore, you are starting to articulate your vision for your organization. And we turn all that into a story so that you have a tool to take your vision and share that with other people. It can't just live in your head. It has to be something that you can explain. And more importantly, it has to be something that emotionally connects with people so that they are inspired to do something different out of their day-to-day life to help you make that possible. And we've done this for lots of different kinds of problems and lots of different kinds of industries. As I mentioned, I used to work at Lowe's, the home improvement retailer, and that's where we first started using this. And so, for example, one of our problems is visualization. And how do you get confident about even starting a home improvement project? That was a problem statement that we ran through this process that led us to create 3D scanning systems that are still in use today, augmented and virtual reality tools for home design that, of course, have been widely adopted now across the industry, and many examples that started for us back in 2012 when nobody was really thinking about this. And here at SU, we're doing that for other organizations. We've worked in financial services, in retail, in manufacturing, in energy. We have looked at things as broad as how will all aspects of life and society look in 2030 to as specific as what is the future of the kitchen and appliances and how we might work in our kitchens in the future. So it can go from very broad to very narrow, depending on what it is that you need to explore or create change around. Doesn't even have to always be about technology. Sometimes it's about culture change. And we've done a lot of work in that space as well to show how, for example, after a merger, how two organizations' cultures should come together and what strengths and weaknesses we think will unfold as a result of that. So these are all ways that we can think about story. And if you go to the next slide, please. And this is, once again, kind of that process that we go through. So this could be done over a course of several months, allowing us time to learn and then question what we've learned, go back again. This can also be run as a workshop if the important piece of the story is really that cohesive experience of creating a vision together. So we can sort of plus up or plus down different elements of this experience based on the specific problems that your organization is trying to solve. And finally, in addition to comic books, I mean, we think about videos, we think about VR experiences, and we've actually done a fair amount of neuroscience testing to look at the unstated responses that people have to different types of mediums for storytelling. And we found that comic books are particularly strong at giving people enough creative license that they can read and imagine the world for themselves, but also see that laid out in a very intuitive format. Videos, for example, are really important if you need to deliver a certain emotion or feeling. And so there's lots of different ways that we look at how to be really effective with the tools and the choices that we make. So happy to answer any questions about how this might look for your organization when we get to Q&A. Thanks, Teasha.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. So the very last one, like I said, we want to spend some time talking to you directly, but what we do know is that all of the advancements that are being made in the technological space are there because there was some inspiration, some human element that got us there, right? So people are behind all of the great advancements that we've made. And if we keep that in mind, then that helps us to sort of put things into perspective as we talk about what should the impact of these technologies be on people's lives. So in order for us to really start tackling that, everyone has to be committed to being a part of those conversations. So we can't jump into the advances of technology without talking about the impacts on people. But if you aren't participating in that conversation, then you won't have a voice in what these things ought to be. So my question for you, and this is how we'll kick off this Q&A, is what will we actually need to build and maintain the kinds of partnerships that make the future accessible to all people? So that's my good question. What will we need to build and maintain the partnerships that make the future accessible to all? All right, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so that we can have that discussion. I'm hoping you guys will participate with us. The best way for us to really dig into these kinds of experiences is for everyone to participate. So we appreciate raised hands.
Yes, so everyone that wants to give some insights, just raise the hand. It's an option here below, and I will get a notification and allow you to come on stage or use the chat.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay, Teasha, you start.
So I think the first thing that we're going to need is empathy. I think that we have to develop an emotional intelligence, right, of how we understand other people. And there's lots of elements of that can be as broad as understanding someone else's position, right, in life, and then or where they come from, their culture. So there's lots of elements in there, but I truly believe that empathy is the key to human-human interaction, and partnerships can be built when people empathize with others. So that's mine.
I was going to say trust. So kind of in a similar line, I think when we looked at how consumers are feeling about the future, and one of the things that really stood out was the desire for trust, to be able to trust institutions, to be able to trust each other, to trust technology. And right now, I think you look at some of the challenges around the world, it seems like we have a real deficit of that. And so I think a lot of the things that we're trying to do at SU ultimately are trying to help build that core sense of trust again between people, that allows us to move forward together and really tackle challenges as a community.
Yeah, to me, I think I was going to say sort of transparency is for me is a big one, right? And I think this is one that we talk about in relation to our automated technologies as well, but it comes down for me to a notion of authenticity and candor, and the ability to speak truth to things that we maybe aren't as happy with how they're going, maybe not as happy about ourselves, in so far that, yeah, it's nice to present ourselves as beautiful and perfect, but no, we aren't, none of us are. And as long as we're not candid about these parts of ourselves that maybe aren't as great as we'd like them to be, I mean, I say this obviously coming from a point of like, this is what we see when we start using technology. It augments everything, right? And so if we in our human-to-human interaction have unfairness, inequities, and other things, then those will become augmented in our technology. So if we can't acknowledge those truths in our human-to-human interaction, if we can't be open and transparent about them, then we will see that those become sort of, augmented through our technologies. And I think this comes down to the same thing as you say, Amanda, as well as like, that means we have to build trust that it's also okay for us to do so. Trust in each other, trust in all of us that we're all trying to do the right thing and that we have to collaborate in order to do so. So that's funny. We actually all had a sort of similar answer. But we do have an answer in the chat.
Oh, good.
Maybe, sorry, there's a lot of traffic out here. Maybe Maria wants to join us up here for a moment. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but I like because the reason why I ask is because I really like the answer compassion and grit, because I think sometimes those are often, they're often thought of as almost mutually exclusive, right? Compassion seeing as sort of like a soft and caring, and grit being like this hard and enduring. And I like that putting them together. Maybe we should have phrased the question that way of what are the two things that we need to start. But I don't want to project onto the answer. So Maria, if you do want to join us and explain what you mean without me like talking about it, please do join us.
Are you listening to me or not?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, for me, compassion, I mean, is one of the features or one of the characteristics of the person in this time of the pandemic. We need to have a lot of the compassion and grit. For me, if you don't have the passion and the effort to get to these new realities, you can get it. So you need both being together.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like it just as putting those two together. But thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Yes.
From Colombia.
Great. Anyone else on this topic? Otherwise, what we'll do is open it up. If there are any questions that anyone has for Alix and for Amanda, this is a great time to ask those questions. Okay. So I think since we don't have any questions, what we can do is we can keep moving forward. So for those of you who are here, we will move into the next section. So Alix, I think now we're going to do our fun giveaway.
Yes, we do have a little giveaway, a fun quiz. So I will need people to raise their hands. Oh, there is actually, there is a question, sorry, in the Q&A. This is definitely for Amanda. stories and visions are more effective best when they are the results of a collective work versus just told or sold. What tools or methods do you use to engage large numbers of people in building these shared stories and visions? From Fabienne. I can't, the font is very small, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I definitely agree that it's important that it's the result of a collective work. And to do that, typically, we want to make sure that we're thinking about all the different stakeholders in a problem inside or outside of the organization. And I'm working on one right now that's actually one of the first times that this organization is thinking about how to influence a mass audience around the world. So the second part of your question about engaging large numbers of people is oftentimes not super relevant for the project because they're typically developing a really core internal strategy out of this work. But in this particular case, part of the mandate is to reflect perspectives of youth around the world, of different cultures around the world. And so we're actually going to be building an advisory council with representation of different demographics and age groups, and really creating our own little community to contribute perspective along the way to help us gut check what we're finding, how we're thinking about the future. And if we think that these are the audiences we need to influence one day, making sure that it resonates with them, or that if it doesn't, why, and how we can persuade. So that's an actual live one I'm working on right now as an example.
That's really great. Well, let's go to our little quiz and giveaway, because if there's any other questions, you can just drop them in the chat while we do so. So I will ask 3 people to raise their hand, and I will ask you a question. Can you see my screen all right?
We see your screen. It says truth. It's the shared.
No.
Oh, it's not the right thing.
It's not the right thing. Let me see. Share screen. There we go. Can you see the screen all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, so we have 3 questions, and I have been allowed to give away our a year-long membership, which is priced at about $1,200 US. So that is, all of you, of course, are members of our global community, but we have also our special sort of members-only community that I am allowed to give someone. So if someone wants to raise their hand and join me in a true or false question, and if you answer right, I have the power to give you one of our memberships. Surely someone.
Wow.
Here we go. Maria, come back on.
Oh, unfortunately, I don't see it.
Oh, she was just there.
Yes, but disappeared.
Unfortunately. Anyone else?
That's strange. Or Maria, you can try to raise the hand again. I'm sorry, I saw it, but then it disappeared. I'm here, but
Is
try.
Maria still in the session?
She is. Can you try to raise the hand, Maria? Once again.
She is here. She says, I am here, but she needs to raise her hand again before you can pull her onto the stage. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Ah, there she is.
Okay. And Mike.
And here we go. Welcome back, Maria. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, are you ready for your
I am ready. Yeah, okay.
Your one true false question.
Okay.
Where am I starting? An algorithm that trains itself to perform tasks using multiple layers of machine learning is called deep learning. True or false?
True.
True. That is correct, Maria. It is my absolute pleasure to offer you a year-long membership for our special SU membership. We will reach out, figure out details of how to get that to you. But I'm very pleased to invite you into our community.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I am very happy.
Good. I am looking forward.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, goodness. Something just happened. Am I still sharing my screen?
No,
No.
Oh, how interesting. Okay, well, I figured that out. Who wants to be the next person who raises their hand and answers a very difficult true-false question? I see Milad in the chat. So if you're in the chat. Oh, we have one. Yeah, wonderful. We have two.
Oh, look at that.
Perfect. Okay. Swati Soni, are you with us?
Should be.
Should be.
I guess.
I think so.
Has turned me off. Now
Yep.
It should be okay.
Yes, you are. Okay. Are you ready for your question?
I am.
Okay, your question is, it is possible to have a bias-free algorithm. True or false?
True.
Oof, that is actually false. And we'll talk more about that in my session later.
Oh.
But how about this? I'll give you another question. And if you get that right, yeah? Okay. Next, so we have this one. Okay. And now, humans are wired to share information through story. True or false?
That's true.
That is true. That is absolutely true. Yes. And so it is my pleasure to also give you one of our year-long memberships. We will be reaching out to you as well. It will be very fun to interact with you on our platform. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Okay. And of course, we will be talking more about why it is not possible to have a bias-free algorithm later in the session today. Our last contender, Milad. Can we bring you onto the stage? Hello.
How are you?
Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Unfortunately, the previous time I couldn't
still loading. Milad,
yes,
I hope that you will be able to be on
I
stage.
can hear Milad. I don't know if you can.
But it's no problem. You can try it. It may be try to solve this problem. Answer the correct question.
There's a bit of a lag. Okay. Well, no one tell you the answer. I will give you your question.
Okay.
The question is, building impact into your business model will always hurt your bottom line. True or false?
Could you share your screen? Your screen is didn't appear any question. Because your question and building impact into your business model will always hurt your bottom. False.
That is indeed false. You are correct. Very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is indeed false. Of course, at an SU event, we would never say we are deeply committed to introducing impact into everyone's business models and do truly believe that this will actually better your business. So it's absolutely categorically false that it will always hurt your bottom line. Thank you so much. We'll be reaching out to you as well.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much too.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, those are our questions. That is three memberships handed out. Teasha, back to you if you have anything. I think we're all done.
That's it. I think we're all done. I'll just say thank you for those who attended, and we look forward to having you join us in the SU Global community.
Yes, and I look forward to seeing you all in an hour or two for a deep dive into algorithmic bias.
Yes. Oh, and that.
Thanks everyone who joined.
Thank you so much.
I think it's in 2 hours. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. So everyone join the next keynote starting in 10 minutes. And then, yes, in 2 hours, you can meet Alix once again. And yeah, just join the tables, visit the booths. I think Amanda and Teasha will be around. So do good networking, everyone.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.